announcing today that we cannot and will not make this certification my highest obligation.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he will not certify the Iran nuclear deal and is sending the issue to Congress. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. The U.S. president has described the Iran nuclear deal as one of the worst the United States has been a part of. So it came as no surprise Friday when Donald Trump declined to certify the agreement. It was signed in 2015 by his predecessor, Barack Obama, and several world powers, including China. And the United Nations and the International Atomic Energy Agency say Iran remains in compliance. CGTN's Roee Ruttenberg picks up the story.
It was a presidential punt that could hardly be described as a surprise. Donald Trump, the U.S. president, declining on Friday to certify Iranian compliance of a 2-year-old international agreement meant to curb Tehran's nuclear development.
Today I am announcing our strategy, along with several major steps we are taking to confront the Iranian regime's hostile actions and to ensure that Iran never, and I mean never, acquires a nuclear weapon.
Trump had certified the deal twice before, begrudgingly. As a candidate last year, the self-proclaimed deal expert called it, quote, the worst deal ever.
We will not continue down a path whose predictable conclusion is more violence, more terror, and the very real threat of Iran's nuclear breakout.
Leading opposition lawmakers in Washington slammed the announcement as, quote, a grave mistake.
Threatening this agreement does not isolate Iran. It isolates America.
The certification is not part of the internationally backed Iran deal, but rather a domestic fail-safe mechanism, a mandate from the U.S. Congress requiring presidential sign-off every 90 days. Introduced by skeptic lawmakers, it also requires the president to consider changing U.S. national security interests in the wake of suspended sanctions. Congress now has 60 days to decide if to reimpose those sanctions unilaterally, or perhaps to introduce new ones. It could also do nothing, leaving the deal as is. Still, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani dismissed Friday's announcement, saying the deal was stronger than Trump may have imagined.
As long as our interests are in the deal, as long as the interests of the country require it, and as long as our country benefits from the deal, we respect this agreement within the framework of national interest.
And Trump has already indicated he would pull the U.S. out of the agreement altogether if the Congress punts it back to him. A move critics warn could ultimately hasten a nuclear-armed Iran. Anand?
Roee, what's some of the international reaction to this?
Well, before the announcement, China, which is a signatory to the deal, said it hoped the deal would stay intact. We're, of course, monitoring for additional reaction from Beijing. Meanwhile, the EU's top diplomat, Federica Mogherini, held her own press conference right after Trump, in which she slammed the decision and said, this is an international deal backed through a UN resolution. The American president, she said, has a lot of power, but not the power to just scrap it. Meanwhile, the French, German, and British leaders issued a joint statement urging the Americans to consider the security implications of reimposing sanctions. And Russia's foreign ministry called the move, the rhetoric, aggressive and threatening, and said it was doomed to fail. But Israel and Saudi Arabia praised the decision. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, said Trump created an opportunity to fix a bad deal. He, of course, has been a vocal critic of the agreement all along, and the Saudi government said in a